size of the image. We'll see. Is it reversed though? Tell me it's reversed.
You're too small. I can't.
No,
it looks
okay.
great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our ACSOM webinar on our MD Direct program, which is our medical school foundation program. As we have our viewers kind of funneling in, I'll introduce myself. My name is Christine. I am the facilitator for tonight's webinar, and I am located in Canada. I am the enrollment coordinator for our Canadian students, but I also work with international students and folks in the US. While you are joining, please feel free to put in the chat where you are from, where you are at kind of in your medical school journey, whether you're finishing up your final year of your undergrad, if you're ready to start the program, whether you're just exploring your options. I'd love to hear from you, and so we can kind of see where everyone is at. But as folks start coming in, I will introduce our featured speakers so you can see them with us here today. We have Carrie James, the president of ACSOM. We have Esther Sanchez de Leon, who is an ACSOM faculty member and our MD Direct instructor. And then we also have our current student, Delilah, here today. She is in her first semester of her first year, and she started in the MD Direct program. So you'll get to hear a little bit more about her experiences with the program, and she'll give you some wonderful advice and just an insight from the student perspective of what you can expect. So as we get started, I will turn it over to our president, Carrie James, to speak a little bit more about the American Canadian School of Medicine and where you will be studying in Dominica.
Thank you for the introduction, Christine, and great to see everybody else that's joining us. Dr. Sanchez de Leon, always a pleasure to be able to hold the floor with you as well today when we talk about your fine program. Really our founding faculty member for MD Direct. Dominica is a lovely place to live and study. I first went and interviewed with a previous medical school there back in 2003. I ended up being a biochemistry lecturer, and then quickly went on into administration and started a number of programs and so on. But it started what's now a 22-year relationship with Dominica, and then with our our team actually helped with COVID relief when Dominica had their big outbreak, and back in August of 2021, it came pretty late, and really got to work firsthand with getting the right resources to the Ministry of Health, our physicians, nurses, lab techs from other ventures that we had in the United States. We sent down and donated all sorts of time and testing and vaccine freezers, you name it, to be part of that nationwide response. Our founder, Dr. Arvind Bhagapur, did his medical training in Ross as MD. He went on to become a boarded radiologist, and actually a very specialty area of radiology, interventional and vascular radiology, which he did at Cleveland Clinic. His residency was at University of Texas. So he went on to great heights within medicine right after, and great success after his initial training in Dominica. And so we've always had, for all of us on the executive team that founded ACSOM, really have had a soft point in our hearts for Dominica and its people and its environment. It's a very focused environment. It's beautiful. It's about 70% of it is rainforest, and then all sorts of other different microclimes and a lot of agricultural areas. There's only 70,000 people. It's a very focused study area. Our campus is state of the art. We actually work in a partnership with the government of Dominica. We're a private nonprofit medical school, but the facility is actually a government facility, and it's entrusted to us to create a world-class medical school and improve healthcare, and not just in Dominica, but also in North America. And our focus is really on training people for practice in the US and Canada, hence the name. And certainly if you look at the experience of our executives and our board of trustees, that's where their experience is from, and that's their focus. Really it's a great place to study. It's 160,000 square foot campus in terms of our air conditioned space, but it's spread over 30 acres. We have an embarrassment of riches there. And but it's a focused study area. The housing is all immediately surrounding campus. You walk walk to school in the morning. It can take you anywhere from 30 seconds to, I guess, as many as 10 minutes, depending on how far you want to live from campus. We see these beautiful vistas. This is on the south part of the island where the Caribbean and the Atlantic meet. They're divided by a very small isthmus here in this part of the island called Scott's Head. It's beautiful. I have to tell you that you don't get a lot of time to go and see it. We do have outdoor clubs, and our student government association will put together all sorts of beach day celebrations at the start of school, or after a big midterm, or different hiking trips. We do go up into the Kalinago territory, and we do work with the indigenous community in Dominica, the Kalinago, and that's part of our community medicine module that we have within our curriculum. It's at the medical school. It's really an amazing experience. The last 2 years of medical school are in the U.S. at really great teaching hospitals. Our first students are training now in Palm Springs Desert Regional Medical Center in California. We're actually going to announce another clinical affiliation that we have on the East Coast in the coming weeks. That's already signed, sealed, and delivered. We just haven't put the press release out yet. And we're actively making great clinical partners. Who we are, we were founded by physicians for physicians. Our founding dean, Dr. Rami Namadi, is a Yale-trained physician, was a program director of internal medicine at Yale Griffin for years. Also worked with the University of Vermont. He led the medicine at Western Connecticut Health Network for a good while. Still practices there in New Haven, and but he's also our dean. And so when he's not on campus, he's back, in his Ivy League, environ there. And when you look at the faculty that we have that come to campus, I mean, we have always about 15 full-time faculty members on Dominica. We have one that's that's a world-class molecular biologist, an immunologist, PhD. Everybody else is an MD or an MD, PhD. It's really, when we say for physicians by physicians, our small groups are led exclusively by practicing physicians. It's a resource that we think every medical school should have. It's a focus of ours. It's surprisingly somewhat rare, actually, for medical schools. If you look at who's really leading classes, it's a flipped classroom. You don't have more than 10 students in a class within our medical program. Often it might be 5. Just depends on the it depends on the semester, whether you have 2 or 3 of these sections. This, where I think a very reasonably sized school, we started 10 prep students this last July, and 40 new first semester medical students. We're growing, and we'll have about the same size classes coming up here in January. We have 2 starts a year. Next July, our applications are certainly booming in terms of the popularity of the school, and in many ways, we're trying not to be too selective. We love our students. We love giving opportunity. We want students that work hard, that are good citizens, and we're trying to really be holistic in the way that we're doing admissions. We're going to basically double the size of the faculty here over the course of the next 12 months, and we'll meet with the dean and look at the faculty resources. We have more than enough physical resources on this campus is. With previous universities, it's had something like 1,500, 1,700 students on it at a time. We have more than enough physical resources to do what we're doing. But it's all about the faculty. It's about the physicians, and training them, making sure that we have people that aren't just great physicians, but they're great small group facilitators in particular, and really have that kind of hands-on approach to teaching, right? And you have a lot of hands-on during the medical school. You have clinical skills labs, you have your anatomy lab, which we really focus on the digital and really make it clinical anatomy. You're looking at, a lot of radiology images and looking at anatomy really from how medicine's practiced, right? We have an MD, PhD physician that leads our anatomy, right? And so it's really a very special, very boutique environment, right? And I think we've really strived to make it affordable. I think the only way we've been able to do that is by being nonprofit. I'd say that our costs as a medical school are actually quite high when you look at how we have a physician literally in every classroom, no more than 10 students. You look at all the physical resources that we have. It's not easy to do that. And there's schools in the Caribbean that cost twice as much as we do. They're also for profit though, right? And so it's just a different focus. And I think given that we're a nonprofit, we're in a public-private partnership. We're serving our students, but we're also serving a nation, right? And we take our support and our advancement of healthcare very, very seriously. And what else can I say about us? We opened with full 5-year accreditation from IAR. Typically they accredit really only flagship state-run institutions. Many institutions, Eastern Europe, Central Asia is where they originally started, but they've expanded to accredit now a number of schools in the Western Hemisphere. I think we were the first one, and there's others now. And I think we were probably the first private school that they accredited as well, with the rest being, universities of the state in other nations. But we always decided we didn't want to operate as an unaccredited school. So we made sure that we went through the process to be accredited before we ever had a single student. We're listed in the World Directory of medical schools, and where our students, we have 8. We can go through the ECFMG process for our students, right, where they can get their certification as a foreign medical grad. That basically means they're allowed, and student, that means they're allowed to take the USMLE Step 1, Step 2. They're allowed to take part in the US NRMP, or Residency Match Program. They can take part in the Canadian Matching Program for residency, CARMS. Again, this is just, we never wanted to operate as anything other than that. So just because we were a new school didn't mean that we didn't, we wanted to be world-class from day one. And so we've done the work to make sure that we actually have, in this case, multiple accreditors. Our students can take the right licensing exams. We've made sure that we have properly accredited teaching hospitals that are major training centers. The hospital that we're working with in Palm Springs has over 100 residents and fellows there. It's a major training site. It's a tenant hospital, as part of a large national system. So it's I really am very proud of what we've done. Again, I look to our founder, Dr. Bagapour. He sat in these very classrooms 20 years ago thinking about what he had, what he wishes he had, how he might do this differently. And through his success over the decades, and he's been able to do this, right, and found a medical school, and he's been able to get those resources he always wanted. I think Dr. Amati was often building new residency programs. I actually worked with Arvin and Dr. Bagapour and Dr. Amati, our dean, to help create new residency programs and fund them in Connecticut when I was at a previous medical school. So I actually first came to know them through their interest in graduate medical education, and actually the specialty training of physicians. And so it seems a very natural progression now that Dr. Amati is so focused on really the undergraduate training of physicians. But I'll be here all night talking, and let's take me off the screen, and let's talk about this program, talk about our amazing students. And we have an amazing student. We have Delilah that's on the call today. So let me get off the airwaves here and talk to the real, the folks that people really want to talk to. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Carrie. And you really went into depth with a lot of the reasons why our students choose ACSOM. So I won't reiterate all the points that you hit, but I think it goes to show the relationships, and you'll see this if you ever get the chance to meet Dr. Amati and see Dr. Bagapour and yourself, Carrie, and the relationships you have with folks, the students in the program. It really builds a community. And I had a student I was meeting with yesterday, and he watched one of our webinars, and he saw how Dr. Amati and Lenore, a student, were communicating with each other, and he said it felt like a family that I wanted to be a part of. And I think that is a really wonderful thing to hear from students. So I will kind of get to what we're here for, which is our MD Direct program, and learning more about the ins and outs of that by the person who really created it. So I'll have Carrie speak one more time, and then he'll tell you who's a good fit for the MD program, and then you'll get to hear from.
I think that anybody that has the requisite ability, character, and desire to be a physician is a good fit for this program. What may land a student, let's say, the decision comes from the faculty admissions committee, right? It's not something that's made administratively. The physicians that are, the faculty of American Canadian School of Medicine make that decision. And it's just they want you to be successful, and they know that you have to be successful from day one, and they want to make sure that our students are fully supported. And when you look at our direct MD program, we really charge it's a nominal tuition. It's maybe $1,000. It's way below what it costs to hire all these faculty, and every student has literally thousands of dollars a semester worth of learning resources, right? When we contract with everybody from Osmosis to TrueLearn to Lecturio, we have all these online resources, all the Elsevier digital texts, libraries, journals, you name it. I mean, we support everybody with the exact same resources that we give our medical students, right? And in fact, you go through really the exact same curriculum, with the exception, and in the afternoon you're not doing the labs and you're getting more time with Dr. Sanchez de Leon, and it's really just in a supportive and immersive environment. But I'd say that everybody that goes in, there's different reasons. Maybe somebody had a truly low MCAT that our faculty thought in the context of their grades was, all right, there's some risk here. It's not that, it's just MCAT, but it might be MCAT in the context of your grades. Or maybe your grades were all over the place, right? And we see that with students that are directly admitted. They were a C student when they were 17, 18 in their freshman year, straight A student their junior and senior year. All right, they may well have earned admission into the directly into the medical school, especially if those were advanced classes the last 2 years. But sometimes people's grades are just all over the place, right? And that's part of the interview. We're trying to figure out, a lot of times people have been taking care of their family, or they've been working 60 hours a week through school, and they've never had a chance just to be a student. And we just don't know who they're going to be. And, and as a student, we've seen them make A's, we've seen them make C's in classes we wanted them to make A's in. And so it's just an inconsistency. But there's something in there where our faculty still think you can be great, but they want to make sure that you're going to be great. They want to ensure it. And that's what this program is really about. And, you're taking the same, you have the same access to National Board of Medical Examiners questions, right, that make up your exams. And we don't leave this to guesswork whether you can handle a medical school curriculum. We had 4 students last semester that took all 3 exams in the program. They passed all of their midterm exams, their final. There's really no room for error, right, within the Direct MD. You have to pass everything. And they pass with flying colors. And you look at these 4 students when they promote into first semester, they're leaders. They know they can do it because they've just done it, right? And it's going to be a bit more work in first semester, but they have this confidence, right, having just been through it, been through that same coursework, and just seeing them as leaders amongst their peers. Just seeing our faculty, I don't know that our faculty initially knew what to make of the program when we first started doing it, and they see the quality of what Esther's built, and they see the performance. Some of our very best students on campus, right, out of anybody that's been directly admitted, forget about MCAT, forget about grades, our very best students have gone through the prep program, right? And we see that on their exams. And again, it's a quality program, but they got through it because of hard work. Whether it was maybe they've been out of school for 10 years, they haven't been working as a nurse or a pharmacist. It's something far afield, right, where they haven't really directly been involved in the work that's associated with medical school. It could be inconsistency in grades. It could be a concern from the MCAT that wasn't alleviated some other way. There's any number of reasons that our faculty could say, you know what, we want you to have prep this the Direct MD program first, and ensure your success in the medical school. And if they make that decision, right, again, I think there's one way that people get out, and that's through hard work, right? There's a huge diversity of why people are there training in Direct MD for one semester, but there's one common theme as to how they got out, which was a seriousness, it was a stick-to-itiveness, it was hard work, and they earned it, and they go on to being not just another medical student in first semester, but they're a leader in that first semester. So Esther, I can't say enough about your program. But let's have you talk about it, and I'll stop. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll turn it over.
Good night, everyone. They have already introduced me. I'm Dr. Sanchez de Leon. I'm the program director. And we have created this program, as you were just told, basically for people who, for different reasons, cannot be directly admitted in our MD program, but they have the potential. I don't know if you want me to talk about. Okay, so we're going through the basically what we cover is the same as in the first 2 modules on the MD program. it's there are slight differences. We try to complete the curriculum a little bit more here and there because not everyone comes with the same background. So we really try to get everyone at the same level to be ready for the MD program. It's not a substitution for lack of prerequisites, right? Because I think there's certain topics that we don't really cover, like we don't really cover organic chemistry in detail, we don't really cover physics in detail, or even mathematics, but we use them for understanding more complex concepts. So in that sense, it may be beneficial for some people to have at least tried to take the MCAT if it was not their best result, because they get that extra preparation, and also because at the end of the day, what we have to do at the end of the MD is taking standardized tests, and that's also a skill on its own. So in the MD Direct program, we not only, go through the concepts. Sometimes we have, because we go slower, it means that we go with more detail. It doesn't mean that we cover it more superficially at all. We try to go more in depth about the topics. But we also practice a lot of questions. We also try to provide those test-taking skills for the students. So by the time that they enter the MD program, they're also used to, the type of wording that the different platforms use, the type of questions that they're going to get from more clinical, more foundational. So we also kind of like show them a demo of what it's going to be, right? And that's part of the learning process. We do not cover the third module, which is focused on the musculoskeletal, although it looks like we are gravitating towards having a first semester that is like a longer version of Foundations of Medicine and Attack and Defense. So in the future, it may be even more aligned with the actual MD program. So this is the structure of the program. Compared to the MD, once again, in the MD, we have 3 modules, which are 7 weeks each. And in the prep program, we have 12 and 7 weeks. So the first module, as you can see, we called it Decelerated Foundations of Medicine, is a little bit longer because, we're going to see all the biochemistry, all the metabolism. There's topics that are very difficult. It's not an easy program in the same way that medical school is not easy, right? But we go through it, and students become successful at it. I'm really sorry. And like it's challenging, but it's doable. So we just give more times to those topics that are more difficult for the students. And then the second part of the second module is going to be attack and defense. We call it pre-attack and defense because we don't cover everything that is covered in the MD module. The MD module has a lot of microbiology, and that involves, memorizing a lot of bacteria and a lot of characteristics about bacteria. And we don't really see value in making people memorize so much as part of a pre-medical program. So we focus more on the immunology part of the module because it's kind of in the MD, they go through it very fast. So we go extensively, making sure that the students understand the immune system, and then we see some of the bacteria, but not all of them, because at the end of the day, they're going to have to do it again in the MD. And memorization is just that. It takes time, but it's not something that we can really help people with that much. It's more about understanding concepts, understanding processes. So this is a more detailed structure about the modules. We start with molecular and cell biology for a couple of weeks. Then we have 3 weeks of biochemistry. Then we go to genetics. We also see pharmacology. We see also, physiology in a lot of parts of the module because it's necessary. We're going to be studying diseases. We're going to be doing clinical cases on different diseases, so we need to cover certain topics about physiology and also pathology. We have also added some extra sessions on histology because our students are not having anatomy labs. That doesn't mean that they don't need to understand tissues to answer some of the questions. So we really try to give them a program that is comprehensive and that doesn't have gaps, even though they don't do anatomy. And then in the second module, as I said, we're going to be covering immunology and then parts of the microbiology, even though it's not all of it.
That's right. I do just want to interject, and I should have introduced you properly, but when I think about the work that you did at Memorial Sloan Kettering and your background in molecular biology and immunology, cancer biology, genetics, and their intersection there with your research, you are literally the perfect person to be teaching the direct medicine course, right? And it's just we always talk about the the Ivy League credentials. So many of our faculty members that think about Dr. Amadi and the preponderance of faculty that come down to supplement our faculty there in Dominica, that are largely from different Ivy League programs, but also leading state schools. But right here on campus, Dr. Sanchez de Leon came to us directly from Memorial Sloan Kettering. We were literally her very next position. So it's I do want to highlight that, and let people know that they're in very good hands. Thank you.
Well, I also must mention that the other part of the MD Direct program is Dr. Alina Che. She has an MD degree, and she's a great educator. And she provides also exactly what I cannot provide so well, which is the clinical experience and the clinical part of it. So I think, like in most sessions, we're together in the classroom and we can complement each other. So I think I'm really, really grateful for Dr. Che's work in it, because it's also necessary. Yeah. Like, I'm not the best person to teach even biochemistry, because I've never did research on it. I studied it, but like we do what we can, what we have, but we try to be mindful about how we design things and, try to make it digestible to the students. But in any case, you're going to listen to Delilah, so she can give you her perspective. I don't know if there's anything else you want me to cover about MD Direct program for now, or if we're just going to cover it.
There's actually two questions.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's
Let's
okay.
talk about the actual day-to-day, because it's kind of similar. It goes in parallel with how our MD students organize their days, right? Like, I don't know if people are familiar with this, but our morning sessions in the MD program are 3 hours, same as in MD Direct, but they are just purely discussion based. And that means that they're going to be presented with some clinical cases, and they're going to be discussing it as a group. And then there's some, like summary of the information, some recapping, some, putting things together, seeing the bigger picture, things like that. In prep, it's slightly different, although we keep the core ideas of like the discussion. So we're going to start with like a lecture, but it's not like a lecture in which we normally like are passing slides and the only ones talking. It's more like we're having a discussion with the students, and we try to get the students to be the ones who are explaining concepts to us, right? One of our core foundational ideas of our program is that it's student-led learning. So we're providing the students with free work for the day before, so after having all the sessions, they have to go home in the afternoon and study for the next day. And that is the same for the MD, and that is the same for the prep or MD Direct right now. Excuse me if I say prep, that's how we called it before. So in our MD Direct program, the goal is that the students are doing at least most of the talking. And what me and Dr. Che can provide is, some explanations here and there about, certain processes. Because sometimes when you read it in a book or when you watch it in a video, there are certain things that people still don't grasp completely. And I think that's the value that we can provide. That's why people pay for educational programs, to have other people, really making sure that you understand what's going on. So, sometimes there's slides, sometimes we use the whiteboard, sometimes it's purely discussion, sometimes we just navigate through the platforms of the pre-work again, making sure that people are at the same page on every concept that they were supposed to know for this day. And then the second part of it is going to be our clinical case practice. And that is also slightly different than the MD program because some days of the MD program, they see like 2 clinical cases, 3, 4, 5. Each clinical case is going to have multiple questions about it. Maybe the students have to discuss or explain processes about the disease. How does this drug help with this disease in particular, things like that. We did not want to use those clinical cases that the students are going to be seeing in the MD program because why would we make them go exactly through the same thing twice, right? So instead of that, we, took some questions from different platforms that we use. We selected them. We also created our own, and we do clinical case practice with them. So it's going to be more with questions that really look exactly like the ones that they're going to be seeing in the exam, very similar. And we're going to be discussing them. We're going to be really going very deep into, okay, this is the right answer, but why are these other ones the wrong answers? Because that's a way that they trick you in the actual exams. They give you multiple options that could be the right answer, and then you have to really, really be able to tell why is in this case this one in particular. It's not that they just give you one answer and then all the others are like, oh, of course it's not that one. They really trick you in the real exam, So we really try to practice that in the classroom to get the students used to the real exams and really like for them to develop the critical thinking, because it's a very useful skill to have in the future. And then in the afternoons, we have 2 hours. It's not every day, maybe like 2 or 3 sessions a week. Normally it's 2, unless it's like a week that we really need 3 sessions. And we are going to be practicing more questions, covering certain topics that maybe are more complex. Like anything the students may need on a certain topic. We make them practice in the whiteboard. We have like little games. We have competitions sometimes between teams, like we try to be creative in the way, to get the students engaged in the topic and really make sure that once again, everyone gets at the end of the class to understand the topics of the day. And some of the days are just self-study time. They have only morning session and then they go home and they study for the following day. Then I think there's another slide on, I guess there's no slide on, the schedule of the exams, but we do actually use exams as practice. We have some practice exams throughout the module, and then we have the end of the module exam, which is the one that is a summative assessment that counts for the grade. And that one is using the platform NBME, which is the exact same platform that the students are going to be using at the end of the 2 years of the MD to prepare for USMLE Step 1. So once again, this is, like a program that is challenging. It's like a lot of concepts, but it's once again doable. And it's really aligned with what it is to study for the MD program. It's very similar, and we set very high standards, and because we want the people to be well prepared, and we, at the same time as setting the high standards, we try to give a lot to the students to make sure that they meet them.
Thank you. We actually have a question about, while we're kind of in the meat and potatoes of the curriculum and the content. Is this curriculum systems based or non-systems based?
So what do they mean by that? Like systems, we're talking about the body, or
like kind of how our MD program is structured through systems-based learning?
Based, really, yeah.
So the way that our program is structured is with these modules, right, that are going to be, for example, covering the GI tract, module that covers more like the cardio, like we have a module that is about neurology. But in our MD program, we also have foundations of medicine, and we also have immunology and microbiology. And those modules are going to be multi-system. Like we go from metabolic diseases that are affecting the liver, that are affecting, development, that are affecting, cardiovascular disease. So we're going to be talking about many, many like parts of the body. We're talking about multiple systems. It's just linking that to the core concepts, to the foundational concepts. We also study the autonomous nervous system. So that would could be considered like neurology. We study it because we connect it to all the receptors and the drugs that can bind to the receptors, because that's something that is going to be important for them to understand later on. How is the body regulating all the autonomous functions?
Yeah.
So it is not system based in that sense, I would say.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that when you look at how many schools, or if not most schools, certainly are internationally, is they're subject based. So they take microbiology, they take biochemistry, they take any number of the microanatomy, macroanatomy. They're pharmacology. They have these standalone, very much subject components. That is certainly not us. I would suggest that in our first semester, when we're looking at foundations of medicine, that is really does, you're combining the elements of biochemistry and some of the building blocks of life, life in the cell, and then attack and defense is largely immunology. I think that colloquially, and I may even do it sometimes, people would say that, yeah, we're a systems-based curriculum, but I think that Esther is giving a very exact and better representation of what we are, and that there are individual courses early on that one may say feel a bit more subject-based, but as you progress through and you go into second, third, fourth semester, that's pulmonary system, it's cardiovascular, it's and so on. So it's not your it's basically what a modern curriculum would look like at the vast majority of U.S. medical schools now. I mean, there are some hold-ons, maybe a quarter. I don't even know if it's a quarter anymore, but there's some holdouts that still have a subject-based curriculum, but it's not many, and they're becoming more rare by the year. And we're definitely an outlier for internationally. I think a lot of people will say, "Oh, we have a subject-based curriculum," but when you look at it, they are systems-based, but they really don't. It's really still subject. I mean, that's by far the most common way that people teach overseas, and part of that is it's much easier just to put 500 people in a classroom and put one faculty member at the front of it and have them lecture at 500 people at a time. And yeah, maybe you break up into some small groups in the afternoon, but by and large, it's still a lecture. It's a lecture-based curriculum, and really subject by subject. And that's not at all who we are. As you can see, it's very hands-on, flipped classroom, student-led. You have your faculty experts there, that are in Esther's case, as she mentioned, she's really the expert there with an immunology and molecular biology, which and genetics, which really fits very nicely with what we're doing in Foundations of Medicine and Attack and Defense. But we also have a physician faculty member there as well, looking at the clinical aspects of that, right? And so it's a discussion. You have a lot of pre-work to do the night before, a lot of reading, a lot of micro videos on osmosis. You might watch 30 different 3-minute videos about the next day's subject matter. Don't worry, it's all there in Canvas. It's all online. Our faculty members have painstakingly cataloged everything that all of your learning objectives, the entire blueprint of everything you need to learn can be right on your iPad the very first day of school. Like the next 2 years worth of learning is all right there, and there's no guesswork. And they've highlighted, there's thousands upon thousands of these videos on osmosis. You don't have to swim through those or look for a certain subject. They will tell you very prescriptively, these are the 5 short videos I need you to watch as part of your reading or as part of your preparation. And all of that is just so you can spend the next day talking about these learning objectives and solving cases together and leading different exercises that we have in terms of discussion, right? You're going to do a lot more than just learning, by rote, words on your screen on your iPad. You have to be able to use these in context. You have to be able to use them to solve problems together with your peers, basically just like it's going to be for the rest of your career in medicine. But I think it's a really exciting way to teach. I know that our faculty wouldn't be here if they didn't want to teach this way, right? And I think that's why we attract so many energetic and eager faculty members, because we are doing something that's different. And we train every faculty member with the Johns Hopkins curriculum development course. We train all of our faculty members with the Stanford faculty development course. We bring back down an expert moderator, actually the Associate Dean for Medical Education from Penn State, Dr. Jeff Wong. And he's the one who comes down that leads our faculty through all those exercises. Most faculty members have a minimum of 6 months of just specific training on how to teach in this and how to work with our curriculum before they're certified to get their own group to teach, to teach there on campus. So it's kind of behind the scenes, the resources that we make available. It's not just hiring the right people, but it's giving them the right training. And we're asking our faculty members to do something that's special and maybe not intuitive. This is not stand in front of an audience and lecture at them. It's leading discussions, it's solving problems together, and it's a very different way of doing things. So
awesome. Thank you. I'll just really quickly, thank you so much, Carrie and Esther. We'll get into kind of, so you can hear from Delilah. I'll give you folks a break, and then we'll bring you back for Q&A. But really quickly, I just want to go over kind of our application process for the MD Direct program. We don't have an application fee for folks to apply. There are two options on the application. When you go to select, it'll say MD or MD Direct. So you would apply to the MD Direct program if you're interested in this particular preparatory program. Easy uploads to apply. You can apply with your AMCAS file, your ACOMAS file, your OMSAS if you're in Canada. And for the MD Direct program, we still do require folks to have the prerequisites for the MD. So we still look at 2 semesters of biology, chemistry, organic chemistry, physics, and math. And that's to make sure that you will be academically successful when you arrive in Dominica, where our MD program is held. We do have 2 intakes, as Carrie mentioned, one in spring, which is January, and one in fall, which is August. So we are accepting applications for both of those programs now. And I encourage folks to apply no matter where you're at in the journey. If you're waiting on taking an MCAT, if you have no plan on taking an MCAT, this is a really great option for our students. So as I mentioned, you apply online, and then we would move you through to an admissions interview. Then you await your admission decision. We try really quickly to get back to you within a week to 2 weeks of applying, so that you can kind of see where you're at in the funnel and you can plan accordingly. And we want to give you as much time to prepare for the MD Direct program in terms of, financing, getting your student visa, getting your housing, getting all of that stuff sorted. So we really are quite quickly after you apply to move you through the funnel. The cost of our MD Direct program, as Carrie mentioned, is quite low for the education that you are receiving, for the expertise that you are receiving. So our tuition for this program for the 19 weeks is $1,000 US. We do have a mandatory health insurance fee that is included. That's just to make sure that you're safe and taken care of when you are on the island. And then our housing, because it is located in Dominica, it starts at about $600 US a month. And it's a great way, as I'm sure Delilah will tell you, it's a great way to start adjusting to your life on the island early while you're going through the medical school process. So if you're not sure if you should go directly into the MD program or MD Direct, this is a great option for you to kind of soft launch your medical education and test it out, so to be. See if it is the right fit for you, and that's why it is a little bit more affordable than going right into our MD program. So enough for me. I will bring Delilah to speak about her experience with the MD Direct program, and she's just kind of going to go through, everything that she experienced and how she was successfully promoted, as we call it, to our MD program. Hi, Delilah.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much, Christine, Mr. James, and Dr. Sanchez de Leon. I am so happy to talk about the MD Direct program. So a little bit about me. I'm Delilah. I am from Southern California. I attended undergrad also in Southern California. I wasn't quite sure what my career goals were in undergrad. My major was in the humanities, not science related at all, but I always knew that I wanted to work in healthcare in some capacity. So I was able to take my prerequisite classes, and I took a few gap years working around trying to kind of navigate discovering what I wanted to do. And I ultimately decided that I did want to go to medical school, but looking back, there's a few things I considered. One was time. I had already spent a lot of time kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then if I were to sit down and re-study for the MCAT and kind of go through the application process to medical school, I thought that, it would be over a year's time, and I came across ACSOM's MD Direct program and thought there is no better way to prepare myself for medical school than being on campus at a medical school, being taught by such wonderful professors, being in the environment, kind of getting familiar with what I will be learning in my first year. So I did decide to apply to the MD Direct program, and I'm so glad I did, because now I'm in my first semester. And I think being in the MD Direct program, it kind of gave you or me this like structured immersion into not only the academic expectations, but also the personal expectations of medical school. I know I don't want to speak for everyone, but for me, moving to a new country, it was like the first time I wasn't living where I grew up. That was definitely an adjustment. And I think being in the MD Direct program allowed me to fully adjust to the island and kind of learn how to navigate everything before actually entering my first year of medical school, which was definitely helpful, because we all know it's not easy. I also really, really valued the emphasis that the MD Direct program and Dr. Sanchez de Leon and Dr. Che have on building a strong foundation in the biomedical sciences and kind of weaving in these clinical cases in patient care. I personally can say I did not have a very strong background. I've taken the classes, didn't do as well as was expected of me if I wanted to apply in the States. So I think this program truly gave me that foundation I needed to be able to succeed as a medical student. The environment at ACSOM is very interesting and amazing in the sense that the environments I was used to, especially in pre-medical and health science schools and majors and whatnot, is very competitive a lot of the times. And while competition is good to a certain degree, I think a lot of times it can be toxic. But one thing that really stood out to me at ACSOM was that all of the students are so supportive of one another. The faculty is so supportive. And I think that really also shaped my experience, and that I felt genuinely like I had a new family, and that everyone was concerned for each other's well-beings. And I think we all define our success as the collective success of our class, and not just based on personal wins, I guess. So I think that's super special about ACSOM. And yeah, so just to kind of answer how ACSOM has prepared me, I mentioned both academic readiness. I think the coursework being so similar to the MD program, or being essentially the same, really gave me a good start to this year. And I think that without it, I would have been completely lost. I'm so thankful for it. And also in the sense of professional growth, I think being on the island and being able to talk to so many wonderful faculty and students while being in the MD Direct program kind of helped me understand what I can make of medical school and how much I can do, and how much support I do have, which was super helpful. And it also just familiarizes you with like the demands and expectations of being a medical student, and also of living in a new country, and kind of navigating those two at the same time. A day in my life, Dr. Sanchez de Leon kind of mentioned, but essentially we have these small group sessions in the mornings that are definitely not your typical lecture at all. I really, really like the small class sizes and the pre-work beforehand, because it almost forces you to not fall behind. There is no falling behind, because you have to show up to class prepared. Your classmates are relying on you. You're relying on yourself. You're relying on everyone around you. And I think that kind of discussion-based class was really paramount in my learning, and how not only I was able to learn, but how I was able to learn how others learn, and kind of think through processes myself, and then hear how others think through processes as well. So the morning is small groups, and then we have like a lunchtime, and then afternoons, I would say every other day or 2 to 3 times a week, we do have more clinical case based learning, and our professors craft these questions for us that are truly so helpful. And I don't want to say preparing for an exam, because it is good for preparing for an exam, but at the end of the day, we're all here to be able to take care of our future patients and be good clinicians. And I think that those clinical cases and the way the classes are set up really, really do set a good foundation to be able to do what we all want to do, and what pretty much our goal is to get out of medical school. And yeah, I think the rhythm also of the days being similar to the MD program helped me fall into good habits and create good habits, and learn kind of how to manage my time. So starting this year, I kind of already knew, I figured out how to study. I didn't really understand what study methods worked for me before. So it really helped me learn how to study. And there's a little bit room for error isn't the correct term, because you have to pass at the end of the day to be able to continue. But there is a little more leeway and time, because it is extended, to kind of understand yourself and how you like to learn the best. Advice for students I would have is approach the program with curiosity as opposed to fear. I think I was a little scared coming in. I was never like a very academic and very school-oriented person. And I think now I am, because I'm genuinely loving and enjoying what I'm learning and who I'm learning with and who I'm learning from, which is really awesome. Study methods that really worked for me are school. So ACSOM provides students with so many different resources that otherwise you would have to get yourself. There's like Amboss, there's question banks, there's TrueLearn, there's Lectoria, there's so many things that our professors link for us to learn from. And I think that it kind of depends on what you're learning, what resources you'll use, but having those resources is really a privilege. And it's essentially the information is tailored for you to be able to pass step 1. So being able to study for that milestone and that goal from day 1 before even entering my first year of medical school, I think is an advantage that not many students can say that they had. And yeah, I would say make use of everything offered, definitely. Also kind of building a support system early on pays off. All of the professors are always willing to help. Given that we have small class sizes, you're really able to build a relationship with your professors, as opposed to kind of trying to get into office hours and large lectures for someone to just remember your name or remember your face. I think building those personal relationships has been really helpful, not only academically, but also personally, and feeling like a person rather than just a number or a statistic. So that's very refreshing. And yeah, and then just consistency. It's totally doable. It's not easy at all by any means, but it is completely doable. And there's more than enough support and kind of resources provided. You truly feel like all of the faculty and staff want your success, and they are all very, very passionate about teaching and about what they do. And I think it's really cool that I think they bring a lot of their personal experience, both in academia and in clinical practice, to the classroom, which is invaluable and helps in kind of all of us accomplishing our ultimate goals. Accessibility for the professors. Sorry, I saw that question.
You're doing great with the chat. And it's awesome.
Professors are extremely accessible. Again, given the small class sizes, everyone sees each other every day. Everyone knows each other. It's like I always say Dominica reminds me of what my parents describe their childhood to be, in the sense that you know your neighbor. Everyone will always say hi. And where I'm from, if you're walking in the city on the street and someone says hi to you, it's not always taken as friendly. But here, truly, you feel like everyone is a part of your family, and you care for others and they care for you as if you were family. Professors are always willing to share their experiences and kind of will go out of their way to help you with whatever you need. We also have like our student support center that provides tutoring and extra resources for students who may be looking for that and need that. There are peer tutors that also do the same, and they're just students that have just gone through what you're going through. So it's really helpful to also gain their perspective as well. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions or if I need to touch on anything.
Yeah, I think we're kind of in the Q&A portion of the presentation anyways. So I think you did a great job kind of answering them as they were coming in. And I think your case really shows, you were a great fit for the MD Direct, given your academic background, given how far away, not how far away, but the break from your undergraduate degree. And you raised a really great point about time. Do you want to take the MCAT, maybe retake the MCAT, wait another year for applications, or do you want to just get started, spend the 19 weeks learning the content that you would need for the MCAT, and then start your MD? So I think you raised a really good point about time. The sooner you start your MD, the sooner you start your residency, the sooner you can become a physician. So I think that's a wonderful point to touch on. And then
this question about stigmas between MDs and MD Direct students. So that's actually something I didn't think of coming here, and I completely understand why that would be a question. And it's actually so surprising. There was 4 people in my small group when I was in the MD Direct program, and I felt it was almost overwhelming how much support that the students in their first semester and all the students truly gave. I remember like I'd be nervous for an exam and they'd be like, why are you nervous? You're going to be here anyways. Like, we're not going to be here if you're not going to be here next year. And I think that there's absolutely no stigma. And I can go as far to say that it's like almost like you kind of have like a chip on your shoulder. Everyone wants to help you. We all want to see each other's success. And even now I like chat with the prep students or the MD Direct students every day. They ask me a bunch of questions. I love sharing my experience because I think, if I didn't have that support from my classmates and from my peers in all of the classes, I don't know how well I would have done. I think obviously we learn a lot from our faculty, but also learning from students who have studied the same thing and who are living the similar experience as you is super helpful. So there's, I would say, absolutely no stigma at all. I don't even think, like, now that I'm thinking back on it, I didn't even notice like I considered myself one of the first year students. Like it was just one group. There was no, everyone's friends with everyone, which I heard actually before coming to ACSOM, and I didn't believe it, but at lunch, we usually just put together, like everyone sits together. There is no like partitioning in groups or anything. Even in the other classes, it's always just this like big family and kind of outpouring of support.
That's wonderful to hear. Okay. Are there any more questions for our wonderful panel? If not, I'll take you folks to next steps. If you have any questions about the MD Direct program, our MD program, please feel free to scan this QR code to set up a time to chat with me. You can call me, text me, send me an email. I am completely available to all students to support you through this process. I'll come back to this, but there's just a few other slides I'd like to share. If you're ready to take the next steps, we do have a QR code to our application right there. And as I mentioned before, there's no application fee. We do have advisors. If you are USA based, we do have other advisors as well you can speak to, and that's Mason and Mika, or myself in Canada. But again, I can speak to any student and we can chat throughout any of your questions, regardless of where you're coming from. And then you can join us on socials where you can learn more from our students, from our faculty, see what we're up to on campus, see what life is like. You can check out, get a kind of a behind the scenes look about what goes on at the American Canadian School of Medicine. So I will just say thank you so much to our panel who took time out of their very, very busy lives and their important lives to chat with us today about the MD Direct program. So thank you to Delilah, to Carrie, and to Esther for your time tonight. And thank you to all of you who joined us from wherever you are in the world to be with us tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time to learn more about what ACSOM has to offer our students.
Thanks for having me, Christine. Delilah, great to hear that your semester is going so well. Continued good health and good luck with the rest of the exams. So,
well, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Good seeing you, Esther.
Enjoy. Nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.